the James Aguilar Legacy Project. It's a very special gift to be born into a large, lively family. Whether you're the eldest, the middle child, or the youngest, you always seem to be surrounded by noise, by the continuous hum and warmth of active people and voices which bombard your senses and space and sweep you along in a staccato song of life. What's even luckier is to be the grandchild born into a large, expanding family. My brothers and I can attest to this fact. By way of introduction, I often say, my mother was the oldest of 10 siblings. We were so lucky to have wonderful, interesting grandparents and bunches of aunts and uncles to watch over us, inspire, teach, and entertain us. Lucky, too, is the family who contains a storyteller, a historian who relishes the opportunity to orally recite the family journey of life, the highs, the lows, the sources of laughter and of tears, the challenges as well as the triumphs and tales of survival. My mother, Frances Aguilar Estrada, was the appointed conciliar and historian of the family, but she was always the first to credit and recognize her siblings as important and vital to the whole family. She would tell us very clearly that each member of her family had a valued place and also represented vital parts and pieces of the family history and of their journey. Each member was like a colorful puzzle piece in a beautiful mosaic, or maybe a wonderfully bright thread in an ever-growing family tapestry. Most fortunate for the Aguilars is that the family also contains the gifts of a storyteller extraordinaire, and that's our very special Uncle Jim Aguilar. Throughout all the years of family gatherings and celebrations, there would come a moment when conversations would trail off and people would begin to form a circle of sorts near Uncle Jim, and individuals would begin to encourage him to recall or to retell one of the many family stories or experiences from times past. Someone would call out a name of a relative or a punchline or a familiar expression. There would be a burst of laughter, and Uncle Jim would smile and then launch into one of his many renditions of an episode from the continuing saga of the Aguilars as they journeyed from Mexico in the 1800s to Texas in the 1900s and on to Redlands, California, and then all parts north of the Grapevine along Highway 99 until they reached and settled in Turner Station near Manteca, California in 1930. Lucky for all of us, Jimmy's story was always replete with mime, hand gestures, sound effects, slight dance moves, and comical facial expressions. As he spoke, his voice conjured back family members, friends, neighbors, teachers, employers, and many remembered individuals. We had to listen ever so carefully, as his retellings often included extra embellishments or pictorial details which animated the facts and brought the persons and places vividly back to life. Lucky for so many of us throughout all the years, Jimmy's memory and gift of recitation always remained intact and ready for the telling and recalling. Recently, upon the celebration of Jimmy's 97th birthday, we decided to ask him to remember and to retell some of the family history, and especially his own personal history and story of his service years during World War II. As Uncle Jim spoke, his great-nephew Brandon Rector and Brandon's son Jeremy filmed him as he eloquently brought to life the story of the Aguilars. So it is, with deepest respect, gratitude, and love, that we present Uncle Jim Aguilar in his own words. What is your earliest memory?
Well, I'll try and remember how it all started. My dad was born in 1890 June the 2nd. And when he was born, they had a big farm that they used to farm out. But at that time, he was seeking adventure, and they had put him into the Escuela de Artes art school in Mexico City. But he deserted the school and went to join with where the thrills were. And he joined up with the Pancho Villa gang. As a young boy, he thought that was thrilling, something different. He was really going to have a blast. But it didn't take long that he found out it wasn't so much fun. He saw things happening and began to dislike all the action. So one evening when they were going to next day hit a little village by the name of Parral, he got on his mare and deserted. And they traveled all that night until the mare gave out. And then he walked on foot miles and miles and finally trekked into the border and crossed into Texas. And of course, he was seeking a job and whatever, didn't know anybody. But he met this person they were building roads in Texas, and he gave my dad a job. In those days, there were no mobile equipment, it was all by horse and plow and scrapers. And that was my dad's job. In doing so, he worked there for quite a while. And they had a little boy. They used to bring water to them out to the job and take care of the horses. And my dad got to know him, and they got to be friends and so forth and so on. So one day this boy invited my dad over to where they lived. And believe it or not, he met my mother, which she was just a young, beautiful girl, living with her mother, her name was Santos, and her two brothers, Louis and Rosalio. And that's how my dad met my mother.
So Jimmy, if you had a chance to think about it, how do you want to be remembered?
Oh,
Yes. How? What things?
perhaps everybody, or most everybody, knows me as a storyteller.
Yes.
And I'd say 90% of the things are so true. And I'd always try to be fair with everybody. I never have really intentionally hurt anyone. And I admire her family. They've been so nice to me. Of course, losing my son is really a blow, but that's the way it goes. I would like to be remembered as a person that tried to be fair and do the right things. And as my dad always told us, never get in trouble with the law or make a bad move that you'll resent. So my life has been very well in those lines. What I had to do, I did. And a lot of times, as I sit in my backyard and the sun so bright and shiny and nice, I think of all the things that happened, whether they were right or whether I did wrong, we just went along. We just went along. My shadow and I tried to do it our way.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's the end. I try to do it my way, the right way. And my shadow was always along with me.